shall prevail.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Starfyre Gaming. I am Sir Joseph and this is Warhammer 40k Rouge Trader. I went ahead and looted those corpses. We did get one item that caused me some concern. This little thing right here, this halo device, gets you plus 25 strength, toughness, agility, and perception. And use your agility instead of your intelligence, your toughness instead of your willpower, and your strength instead of fellowship. Makes you immune to injuries and traumas, and you generate 3 wounds per turn. Whenever you kill an enemy in battle, whenever you kill an enemy, any damage they deal is increased by 1% until the end of combat, while their intelligence, willpower, and fellowship are reduced by 1. But you're not using those because you're using the other ones. But the problem is only Ignatius can have that. So that really concerns me, that something's going to happen with that we don't know about down the road. So I'm probably not going to grab that. And then there was this loot was over here that I missed earlier, and I'm thinking it should go to Cassia, because she's our coercion and persuasion person. So we're going to do that real quick. So I just moved up to here because right here there was a loot that I didn't grab. That's why we're here instead of down in here. But I didn't want to leave in case something triggered leaving. So now we're going to go ahead and get by the door and head out of this place. Alright, so that was an easy way out. I just didn't know if it would trigger something, because sometimes that has happened. Now we need to get to our capital, because that is where we can finna do Abelard's side quest. Now there is a unidentified anomaly down here. Might be worth just checking that out real quick. And then there's forewarning down here as well. We might just check those out while we're down in this area. But for now, let's just go home and clear up this mess with Abelard's house. Okay, we have to take Abelard, which is fine. We normally take him, so we're good with the standard away team. Come on, load up. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand aside. No need to crowd around. Governor Drivestem will take care of everything. Never did trust Drivestem. This is ridiculous. Such a thing happening right here in the Rouge Trader's palace. There's dead bodies. You are confronted by the sight of dead bodies at the entrance of the palace. The corpses have been hauled into a pile. Some are dressed in the uniforms of palace wardens, while others are arrayed in the clothing typical of the Dargonus nobility. Upon seeing you, the young enforcer stands at attention and swallows noisily. His voice trembles as he says, "Your lordship, we are honored by your presence." Let's examine the assailants. Observation. These are high-functioning servitor specimens present among the expired units. Such specimens are traditionally bestowed upon the house nobles of the most loyal to the sacred fellowship of the Adeptus Mechanicus. The augmetics of the deceased do differ from the implants ordinary people wear. Their intricate construction makes it clear that the deceased were not ordinary humans. Abelard frowns. As far as I know, House Gaprick has received such servitors from the Crimson Priesthood as gifts in the past, although this is my first time seeing one for myself. Point to the dead bodies. What is this mess? You see, your lordship, the people wanted to attack, or those people wanted to attack. The warden clears his throat. Second Lieutenant of the Palace Guard, Elam Wiet reporting. Shortly before you arrived, we averted an assassination attempt on the Rogue Trader. The palace soldiers detected intruders and engaged them in combat. Where is the court chancellor? Clemencia Weirstein. Or Werserian. I think she's with the rest of House Werserian, detained in the throne room, that is. Governor Drivestem has gathered all of Dragonis' nobility there to pronounce a guilty verdict against House Werserian. Why is the governor not here to greet the Rogue Trader? I do not know, your lordship. Perhaps he is. The guard throws a fearful gaze at Abelard. You can probably find him in the throne room, where the governor intends to put House Werserian on trial. I must take my leave. The bodies bear multiple wounds. It is evident that they died recently.
I have learned much in my exile.
There was a crumpled up letter inside the pocket of the assailant. Of the assailant's blood-soaked jacket. Did we get this letter? We did. The letter is soaked with blood. Only a portion of the text is readable through the crimson blotches. Something indiscreet. Keep away from the lords and ladies. You must look like a noble to the servants and wardens. Do not engage in conversation with anyone. Your task is to avoid exposing yourself ahead of time and let the Werserians get away while the wardens are busy guarding the Rogue Trader. Okay, well, let's get in there, I guess. Yeah, no, nobody to talk to. Alright, yeah, let's just go ahead and head in. Rogue Trader, greetings, lordship. All right. Knights, noblemen. I'm sure talking to any of these groups won't matter. No. No.
Your species is aware of mutilated forms of the omniscience wisdom. Does anamorphic ersatz veneration of the Deus Mechanicus exist in your culture?
We venerated Vol, the smith and craftsman, but he is nothing like your ugly deity. He has never sought to replace our souls with wraithbone sculptures.
Alright, does not appear any of these folks want to chat. Head up. No. I'm guessing most of these it'll be a...
It's about time.
Like this. See if there's anything in our room. Nope. All right. Let's go see what the gathering is.
Victory awaits.
Let me through. I have an appointment with Chancellor Clementia Wersarian. My apologies, my lord, but you cannot go any farther. Governor Drivestem's orders. This is ridiculous. I shall complain. Move over. Let his lordship, the Rouge Trader, through. I humbly beg your pardon, your lordship. Your lordship, please, this way. Alright. Your lordship, 'tis an honor. Governor Urbend Drivestem seems to materialize out of thin air. So suddenly does he emerge from the crowd. I regret that this unfortunate circumstance has occasioned the Rouge Trader's visit to the capital. Clementia tries to take a step towards you, but the warden nearby stops her. Her face is veiled with fear and wariness. Your lordship, you are here. Please, you must hear us out. The Rouge Trader is undoubtedly here to listen to the testimony of each and every one of us and to punish the traitors. The governor's words directed at Clementia are harsh. They are echoed by the scornful sneers and whispers of the assembled nobles. We have known each other for many decades now, and we have had our fair share of disagreements, but do you really think my flesh and blood would trample upon the very definition of honor and loyalty? Abelard's voice is quivering with rage. The governor sweeps his gaze over Abelard, then replies, a faint shadow of doubt in his voice. We have evidence implicating them, Abelard. I am sure that his lordship will arrive at a fair ruling. What are the charges against House Wersarian? Disruption of logistical lines, bribery of Adeptus Administratum officials, document forgery, and organization of heretical insurrections. On top of the evidently devastating economic impact this has had to your protectorate, these criminal acts have impeded the delivery of the imperial tithe, which, in turn, has drawn the Administratum's attention. An esteemed member of the Adeptus Arbites is expected to arrive on Dargonus shortly, and before they do, we are obliged to identify and punish those responsible. What happened on Dargonus in my absence? When we caught wind of the rumors of your disappearance, we patiently awaited news of your return. But then Dargonus was struck by a series of terrible events. The first was the sabotage of logistics that hampered shipments. Then, mass unrest spread across the entire planet, and the minor noble houses began squabbling amongst themselves, trying to pin the blame on their rivals. We took great pains to calm them down and managed to quash the revolt, though not without some outside help, unfortunately. These events have also been overshadowed by the, I'm ashamed to even say it out loud in front of you, Your Lordship, the rumors circulating among the higher houses. The governor stammers, then takes a deep breath. Some were calling for Theodora's true heir to be installed as head of your house, Kunrad Voitvir. Not all your subjects have forgotten the past efforts for the benefits of the Trade Protectorate. Drivestem stops talking, watching you with a tense expression. When the investigation was launched, the evidence led us to the Wursarians. Clementia, I wish to hear your account. Your Lordship, House Wursarian denies all charges laid against it. Clementia glances at the governor with defiance. These last few months have indeed been trying for Dargonus. But we have done our best to remedy the situation. My family's every effort was focused on stabilizing the capital's logistics and economy. So much so that we failed to notice the web of intrigue unfolding behind our backs. Why are there dead bodies at the entrance to my palace? Your Lordship, I humbly beg your pardon. Drivestem bows once again, trying to placate you. You see, right before your arrival, the palace guards discovered a plot to assassinate you. Fortunately, the malefactors were disposed of before they could cause any harm. Drivestem, you aren't accusing one of Dargonus's leading noble houses of treason without airtight evidence, are you? Of course I have evidence, Your Lordship. The investigation has established that members of the Wursarian family, which is responsible for both Dargonus's fleet and its logistics, used their contacts and influence to forge a host of documents in order to undermine the planet's supply routes and economy, thus fomenting unrest among the inhabitants. Allow me to introduce my son, Cornelius. The governor points to the lanky young man standing beside him. He bows curtly, but avoids making eye contact. Cornelius holds a prestigious position at the Administratum's palace, and it is thanks to him that we managed to identify and trace the entire chain of forged documents. The investigation led us to the perpetrators, who admitted to acting on the order of members of House Wursarian. It was they who were intent on spreading the idea of restoring the title of Rogue Trader to the true heir. This young man is shrouded in a mist of gray and blue. Sickly shadows of fear are fluttering around him. Cassius speaks so quietly that only you can hear. Speak to the heads of the houses present. Do you support the governor's accusations? The aristocrats in attendance exchange glances, the noble lords averting their gazes, and the noble ladies hiding behind their fans. No one is willing to be the first to answer. Over his many years of service, Governor Drivestem earned Theodora's trust, and he holds his high office for a reason. Sourback's tone is stern and imperious. On behalf of House Sourback, I support his accusations. Your Lordship, Governor Drivestem has always faithfully served Rogue Trader of House von Valencius and concerned himself with the future of your dynasty, and so House Gaprek thinks these charges against House Worsarian to be sound. The Augmetics hide Toriana's emotions, but her voice sounds slightly timorous. I humbly ask you to allow me to speak in defense of my family's honor. The evidence provided by the governor is utterly false. I cannot refute it, but I can say with confidence that no one from my family line has ever tried to forge documents in the Adeptus Administratum, let alone undermine the economy of your capital. Sabotaging, logistics, riots, conspiracy. This case appears to be flimsy. I wish to learn more before I make my final decision. As you wish, Your Lordship. The governor inclines his head in a stiff bow. Speak to me when you are ready to announce your verdict. Thank you for your willingness to help, Lord Captain. I am certain that all charges are false, and I will be grateful for your help in exposing them as such. I think we should speak to everyone present, the noble lords and ladies. All right. So now we got a chit-chat. So we got the drive stems, the Worsarians, the Saucerbacks, and the Gapreks. What is making that noise? These servitors being loud and noisy. Talk to this warden. Alright. I doubt these wardens have anything to say, but we're going to talk to him anyways. Got servants being held captive. Alright, let's talk to the drive stems first. Governor Drivestem is surrounded by his retinue, who are all dressed in expensive gowns and finery. The matching color schemes of their outfits and the striking physical resemblance among them suggests that they all come from one family. Your Lordship, thank you for giving this case your undivided attention. The governor bows, and then the rest hasten to follow suit. I wish to hear your reasoning again. What makes you think the Worsarians are behind the plot against me? As soon as the logistical and economic problems gave rise to the initial rumors, we tried to find the person responsible for spreading the calls to Voigtvir's return. The investigation showed that some of the documents inside the Adeptus Administratum were forgeries. We can thank my son, Cornelius, for such astute observations. Your Lordship, the slender young man bows to you awkwardly and nervously licks his dry lips. I assure you that my humble person is undeserving of your attention. Cornelius holds a prestigious position at the Administratum Palace, and it was he who discovered the errors leading to the disrupted logistics. It is also thanks to him that we found the perpetrators of the forgeries who admitted to acting on the orders of House Wersarian. Tell me more about your son, Drivestem. Thank you for your interest, your lordship, but I am not worthy of it. The governor's son bows and stands still as he nervously stares down at the floor. Son, show due respect. Forgive him, your lordship. This is the first time he has the honor of attracting the attention of the Rogue Trader. Tell me more about your job, Cornelius. What do you do? I manage the documents and records related to the economy of Dargonis. You probably know that how scrupulous the workers of the Adeptus Administratum are. I am afraid that a more detailed explanation of my duties would mirror the administrative processes of the Administratum. Too long and overly detailed. Cornelius tries to look you in the eye, but it is clearly hard for him to do so. How did you manage to find the forged documents in the bureaucratic hell that is the Administratum? When compiling reports on the last cycle's supply chain, I noticed inaccuracies and discrepancies in the figures. With the help of the other clerks, I managed to find several other documents. Cornelius stammers and swallows noisily. Comprehensive data analysis has shown that the discrepancies were caused by intentional tampering with the data, thus leading to some logistical problems that were practically unsolvable. Father and I have managed to single out the administratum clerks responsible for tampering with the data. Following a heated interrogation, they confessed that they were following the orders of someone from House Wersarian. Everything was supposed to look as though they were the ones suffering losses from the logistical and economic problems. But does House Wersarian have access to the Adeptus Administratum? There is no conceivable way they could do all of this in a place where they do not hold any power. Before replying, the governor's son nervously adjusts his expensive frock coat. I think the right amount of money can open any door. Cornelius, what is the true reason for your nervousness? The young man's pupils suddenly dilate. He stands at attention and replies to you in one breath. This is the first time I have ever spoken face to face with the Rogue Trader. I'm afraid of saying something wrong or forgetting something important. The governor closely watches his son. His tone changes, now sounding strict and curt. Do you wish to tell the Lord Captain anything else? You are speaking to a Rogue Trader, and my patience is running out. You see the flash of terror in Cornelius's eyes as he stares at your hand on your weapon. He speaks quietly and confusedly, without raising his head. Forgive me, your lordship. I can't do it anymore. This lie has gone too far, and I can no longer control it. The truth is that all the logistical problems were caused by a single error in the numbers. My mistake. What? Urband looks genuinely shocked and enraged. When I discovered my mistake, It was almost impossible to restore the supply lines. Then I was approached by someone who said they were a friend. They did not give me their name, and I never saw their face. They promised to fix the problem. All I had to do was pretend that the Warsarians were responsible for the mistake. And as for the rest of the evidence, they promised to arrange it all. And Cornelius is suffocating with fear, unable to speak. Urbend curls his hands into fists, his knuckles turning white. What have you done? How could you? Your lordship! He suddenly turns to you as if trying to shield his son. This is my fault. I trusted my son and have failed you in doing so. I beg you, have mercy. Abelard shakes his head. And you called my family's honor into question, Urbend. Nevertheless, I harbor no desire to kick a man when he is down. Lord Captain, the confession you have obtained means House Warsarian can now be cleared of all charges. But we still do not know who was behind the forgeries, the riots, the plot, and the assassination attempt. Someone is committing their foul deeds and sowing chaos right under your subject's nose. I leave that stone unturned, or to leave that stone unturned would be dangerous. What is this friend that approached you, Cornelius? How did the two of you communicate? By letter. I received a letter out of the blue one day. It was unsigned, but the person writing already knew about my erroneous calculations. They offered to help me cover up my misdeed, and in return, I would name the Warsarians as the ones who had sabotaged the supply lines. All I had to do was gather together some documents and reports that were listed in one of the letters. That, and keep my mouth shut. Urbend, your son has found the courage to admit his mistake. I will try and find some compassion for him in my heart. Thank you, your lordship. The governor bows low, then gives his son a look full of bitterness and frustration. And as for your position, I think you will be reassigned to a role requiring less responsibility. I shall return to you later. I still want to talk to people about this other stuff. Okay, that's just not an actual conversation. Let's come up here. We'll talk to Clemencia. As you draw closer, the wardens stand a step aside, bowing respectfully, allowing you to approach the Warsarian family. Clemencia, tired and slightly disheveled, is the first to bow her head to you in deference. Several men and women behind her follow suit. Your lordship, the woman stammers, as if lost for words. Accept my most humble apologies for failing to greet you properly, and my thanks for agreeing to speak to me before making your final decision. The charges brought by the governor are severe, but I can only assure you of this and swear on my own honor, we are not guilty of the crimes that House Warsarian is being accused of. Clemencia, a hint of sorrow creeps into Abelard's voice, belaying his stern facade. You were acting head of this family. You were supposed to take care of each and every family member. And now you are being accused of treason and collusion against the Rouge Trader, and the entire family is facing death. How could you let this happen? The governor claims you forged documents in the administratum. See if we can get any additional information on the other stuff here. The fleet is the primary remit of House Worsarian. It is our responsibility. Logistics and supply routes are another area of our responsibility. We have no direct influence on the inner workings of the Adeptus Administratum. The first large-scale deliveries were cancelled after quantities of food were miscalculated by clerks in the Administratum. Then we were faced with incorrect weather data and a meager fuel budget. It was clear that the causes of all these problems was the calculations performed in the Administratum, in one way or another. But no matter how many times we asked, we could not even obtain any clarification on the matter. I found this letter in one of the bodies of the heretics who planned the attack. What can you tell me about it? While Clementia reads the letter, the Wursines behind her read it over her shoulder. Your Lordship, let us be frank. It would be foolish of me to try and orchestrate something like this, knowing how many wardens are patrolling the palace. I would not have let myself or anyone in my family get involved in such a scheme. The attackers are high-functioning servitors, ones that looked closer to ordinary humans. Do you know anything about them? Servitors? Is that so? Clementia crosses her arms and furrows her brow deep in thought. I have encountered servitors that were indistinguishable from normal augmented humans, but only once. They were accompanying several members of House Gaparak. If you are not guilty, then who is? Who stands to gain from framing you? Anyone, really, Clementia replies with a bitter laugh. The other houses consider us unworthy of our position, and many would jump at the chance to get rid of us and gain control over what was once our domain, the planet's fleet and logistics, at the very least. Lady Theodora chose to grant noble status to House Worsarian, but the other houses, which have served in the Expanse for millennia, do not welcome the decision. It has led to some difficulties. I want to find out what's going on here, and who is really the mastermind behind all of this. Where should I start? I'm afraid I cannot be of much help. Talk to the representatives of the other houses, eavesdrop on their retinues, and perhaps you will learn something unusual. Alright. So we talked to the drive stems, so we've got the Sourbacks and the Gapricks. Let's talk to the Sourbacks next. Before bowing, Sourback scrutinizes you with a bitter, judgmental look. Your Lordship. That's how I imagine him. Your Lordship. That's how I imagine him speaking. Hedka Sourback, looking like a younger copy of his father, stands at a slight distance, close to his mother. An expensive yet understated dress serves to highlight the dazzling beauty of Macarius's wife, Regina Sourback. Sourback stares at Urliette in revulsion, and revulsion flickers across his face. And let's look closely at Macarius. Despite Sourback's attempts to suppress his revulsion, the presence of inhumans in your retinue undoubtedly reflect his fervent desire to eliminate the enemies of humanity. Do my companions distress you, Sourback? Sourback's face turns red, his furious gaze trained on you. Free-flowing rage boils from every word he says. The Rouge Trader is the chosen servant of the Emperor, and one of humanity's best. By surrounding yourself with depraved Xenos who scorn the very exceptionalization of humankind, you teeter on the brink of heresy, and no privilege granted by the Emperor can blind others to that fact. The thought of existing in the same sector as Xenos is revolting, but their presence in your retinue here, in the capital city of the Von Valencius trade dynasty, enrages me. To have Xenos sullying the streets of this planet after what we endured, and under the protection of the Rogue Trader no less. Sourback takes a deep breath and exhales noisily. His rage subsides, but his burning gaze remains fixed on you. With painted and distressed expression, Regina glances at her husband, her hands worrying the ruffles of her dress. Do you really believe the Wursarians are guilty? Certainly, Sourback replies without hesitation. Governor Drivestem possesses proof of their guilt, and they have no means by which to refute it. Even if I were to entertain the idea that the Wursarians are being framed, how much longer would their house have lasted anyways? If it is so ill-prepared for treachery. He addresses Abelard with a slightly mocking tone. My advice to House Wursarian would be not to appeal the Rogue Trader for help, but instead to simply accept their fate, and not make matters worse for themselves. I cannot remember Ignatius von Valencius seeking your advice on what House Wursarian should do in this situation. Pay attention, Macarius. Focus on the Rogue Trader's questions. Who, apart from Wursarian, could have motive to conspire against me? Well, the guy that actually shows that he hates my guts. House Drivestem, wishing to expand their clout. House Gaprak, who lost their influence after the Kiava Gamma incident. Sourback looks back at his family and turns to you again. House Sourback, whose patriarch is too direct in his communications with the Rogue Trader. Anyone could have reason to conspire against you, and equally, they could have none. It is not a question of motive, but loyalty. Each of your subjects has sworn an oath of loyalty to you, so whose sincerity do you doubt? Your unveiled hatred for me is so obvious, Sourback. It is grounds enough to charge you with heresy. I am hearing this from you, the Emperor's servant, who flouts all that is sacred? The person who seems to think the laws of the Imperium are meaningless? Macarius, now is the time when you would do well to stop and not make matters worse for yourself. The assailants sent to the palace were rare, high-functioning servitors. Do you think the Gapraks could be behind the attack? Sourback looks away briefly and replies to you with a curt laugh. I have always thought Taurinia too weak to participate in such risky ventures, but it seems I was wrong about her. Alright, Alright, I didn't think anything. Alright, so the only people left to talk to is the Gaprex. I'm going to call it here. It's a little bit early. I don't have as much time today to do the full hour. So thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. As always, like, subscribe, and comment. I've been Sir Joseph. You guys are amazing. Until next time, stay safe out there. And I'll talk to you later.